Hey writers and readers, we are going to read the story Ape today and think about the text features that we see in this book. So it's kind of like what we talked about Tuesday, but a different format for this story by Martin Jenkins. All right. All right, so we're going to start out at the back of the book. Let's see. Because I want to do this little author's note at the back. Martin writes that he is a conservation biologist, which means he works on studying plants and animals with the idea of conserving them or helping them survive in a not so friendly world right now for animals. He's written several nonfiction books, and he says about this book, many years ago, I was introduced to some young chimpanzees that had been rescued from smugglers. They all crowded around, looking closely at me and trying to shake my hand. I'll never forget how human their expressions were and how desperate they were to make contact. Since then, I've always wanted to do a book about them and their relatives. Martin Jenkins lives in Cambridge, England. All right. So as we go through this book, we're going to think about some of the text features that we see. So we've got our nice title page. We've got these nice line or charcoal pencil drawings. All right, so we start out with an introduction. There are 5 kinds of great apes in the world. Each of them is different from others, but not so very different. They're all part of the same family. 4 of them are very rare: orangutan, chimp, bonobo, and gorilla. Here they are. So right away, Martin is setting us up to understand that there are going to be 4 sections in this book. And then there's going to be a 5th ape, but he's not as rare, so he's going to talk about the 4 rare ones in detail. Orangutan. So even though these are drawings, look how realistic they are. Orangutan swings with her baby. She has long, hairy arms with strong hands for clutching at branches and feet that can grasp the trunk of a tree. That fruit's out of reach. And then down here, it says orangutans live in the rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra in Southeast Asia. They spend almost all their time in trees. So I love all these descriptive words that he uses. So not only can we see the long hairy arms, but he's really helping us pay attention to that part. The feet that can grasp the trunk of the tree or the vine. Kind of gives you an idea too that they spend a lot of their time up off the ground, not walking around. They need to be strong so they can kind of Tarzan through the trees. That fruit's out of reach, but not for long. It's a durian. Smelly, spiky, delicious. Have you heard of durians? I know that's been a food that sometimes is featured on that television program Chopped. If you haven't heard of a durian, apparently it is super stinky, and it is actually banned in some places, like from public transportation. Like you can't bring it on the bus and eat it. You will get in big trouble. And so, yeah, so I've never seen one, never smelled one, and I don't plan on it. Orangutans are mostly vegetarians. They eat a lot of different kinds of fruit, and they're especially fond of durians. So what doesn't smell good to a human must smell wonderful to an orangutan. Orangutan looks after her baby alone. She keeps to herself high in the treetops. Each night she builds a nest out of branches to sleep on, and then pulls a palm frond down to keep off the rain. So one thing I noticed about the text is how he uses like a big font. On this page, he has this little, really curly font that's almost like a caption. And then he has like this sentence really big. chimp. So now we've got this heading. We talked about that on Tuesday as well. And so now we know we're going to read about a whole different animal. And as a reader, this kind of makes me want to start comparing and contrasting. How are chimps the same as their orangutan cousins, and how are they different? Chimp lives in a gang with his brothers and sisters and uncles and cousins. They squabble and play and go roaming the hillsides, hunting down monkeys and digging up roots. Chimpanzees live in forests and savanna in Central and West Africa. So what I notice is that he talks about the family groups and talks about where they live on the first page. So we should maybe hear a little bit about maybe something they do or something they eat on the next few pages. Let's see. Here's a termite nest. Chimp pokes down a hole with a long blade of grass, then pulls out the grass and licks off the termites. Chimpanzees spend a lot of time on the ground. They eat lots of different things, and they're good at making and using tools. So yeah, what was right? Something they eat, and kind of another detail about where they live. Orangutans are up in the trees, chimps are down closer to the ground. Orangutans live by themselves, chimps are more in a family group. Chimps gangs sometimes gets into fights with other chimp gangs. Nasty fights with lots of biting and hitting. Look at those teeth. I always think of them being very gentle, but apparently they have a little bit of a nasty side. Sometimes someone gets hurt. So he's kind of linking into that human side of things, like we get hurt too. All right, new section, bonobo. Bonobo chatters and hoots and calls to her friends while feasting on figs high off the ground. Bonobos live in the rainforest of the Congo Basin in Central Africa. They mostly eat different kinds of fruits. So kind of similar to the orangutans but they look more like the chimp. She drops from the tree and moves quickly and quietly, watching and listening. There may be hunters or leopards nearby. Bonobos spend a lot of time feeding in the trees, but they often travel on the ground from one feeding place to another. Back in the treetop, Bonobo plays with her friends, safe again. Gorilla. This is my favorite. Gorilla lounges, chewing on bamboo stems and chomping on leaves. The silver hair on his back shows that he is old. Gorillas live in the forests of Central Africa. They can get to be 40 or 50 years old. Gorilla grunts to his family, then snoozes. He wakes up, plays with his baby, and snoozes some more. Gorillas live in small family groups of one male and a few females and the young. They're vegetarians, and they spend a lot of their time eating and sleeping. Sounds like a perfect life. He wakes up again, chews on some bamboo, builds a nest for the night, and lies down to sleep. And the fifth great ape is, do you know who? You and me. We humans are a part of the great ape family too. But we're not rare like the rest of them, though. There are lots and lots and lots of us. But we do have other things in common. We look like them, especially our faces. We live long lives like they do, and usually only have one baby at the time who takes years to grow up. We are all smart too, probably smarter than any of the other animals. We're too smart sometimes. At least we humans are. We just can't stop changing things. And we've changed the world so much, we haven't left enough room for the other great apes. And we've hunted them for food or to keep as pets. In some places, though, we're trying to protect them now. We've set aside pieces of wild land where they can live their lives in peace, swinging and stomping, chattering and playing, eating and sleeping. and doing all of the other great things that we apes love to do. And so this page has some really good text features. We have a map of where they live, and I'll try to zoom in so you can see the colors. There we go. Okay, so if you look, the orangutans were the orange color. So they're in here in Borneo. The chimps were the perfect purple color. So over here in the Africa area. Our bonobos, they were kind of in, I want to say, the Sumatra area over here. The gorillas are kind of crossing where the chimps live in these little parts where it kind of crisscross with the purple. And then the whole world, it gives the population more than 6 billion people. It also has these text features too. It has an index. So an index is kind of like a table of contents, except for it'll give you the topic, and then it'll give you all the pages where you could find information about babies or eating or tools or nests. So that way you know that there are 3 pages where it talks about families. And then sometimes the author will give you a website where you can read more about the topic. And so a lot of authors will include some places where you can go for more information. And so that is another little feature of text. And then we also had his About the Author, which gave us a little bit of information about where he got his idea from and how he wanted to continue with this book. All right, so that is our story of Ape today, and I'm going to stop the video here, and we'll go to the last slide in our presentation so that you can see how you need to respond to text today. See you in a second.